Hi, my name is Dave DeWitt from Phase 65 Incorporated. Today we're going to be showing you a STEM metrology project called the Cascading Box. Here's an overview of the project. We're going to talk to you about the safety things that are required and some of the mechanical tools that you'll be using. We're also going to talk to you about how to make orthogonal drawings of mechanical parts, how to measure things in thousandths of an inch, how to fit parts together and establish clearances so that the parts do go together. Then we're also going to take those drawings that we made and convert them into a 3D model using 3D modeling software called CAD. And then we're going to take the files from that software, convert them into .stl files, which is stereolithography, and those are the files that are needed to print it on a 3D printer. We've also set up a Dropbox for your project resources. The 3D modeling program we're going to use is called Sketchup. In the Dropbox, you're going to have links to all these different things. So if you go to the Dropbox, and we're going to put that in the description field here of the YouTube video, you can find the link to the Dropbox, and then everything else will be there. The printer that we used, the software that we used, and also this whole PDF will be in that Dropbox, and all of these live links will take you to all the different parts of Phase 65's website, as well as our website partners, and then all of our different social media, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, and Scoop It. I'm being assisted on this by Zachary, who is going to do all of the drawing and the software modeling, as well as the 3D printing. He's going to explain everything, and he also is the videographer who put this whole video together. So thank you very much. We hope you visit our website. Everything on our website is free. All of our work is done as a community service. Thanks.
We found it helpful when making 3D models to draw out your design on grid paper before designing it in a 3D modeling software. Here's an example of our first assembly with the first box and the top cap. And we are just using grid paper that each little box here is 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. And obviously we used a pencil to draw out the stuff, and we used a ruler as a straight edge so that you can get some straight lines in there. And then we confirmed our design when it was done printing with a Vernier Caliper. This one's electronic. There are also non-electronic ones. And if you just click the on button here, it measures the distance between things. So you can measure things by putting it in this slot here, and it tells you the exact to the thousandth of an inch how wide that is. So now we're going to show you the drawings that we use to make the SketchUp models. So this is our first box, and as you can see in the top right corner, it says version 2. That's because when we made the version 1 and we tried to put the top cap, which you'll see in a second, when we tried to put the top cap over this, it did not fit. So we changed the length by 50 thousandths of an inch. So there was 50 thousandths of an inch clearance overall and 25 thousandths of an inch clearance on each side all the way around. This is the bottom cap here. Next, you are going to see the first inner box, which I believe is also a version 2. So this is the version 2 of that one. The first one didn't fit correctly. And this is the second inner box. These are finished products of the 5 models for our cascading boxes, along with their rafts. From left to right, we have our first box, our box cap,
our inner box number 1, our bottom cap, which is the bottom box that surrounds all of them, and our inner box number 2. Here are all of the tools we used while making the cascading boxes. We used safety goggles to protect your eyes while finishing up the finished product. We used a standard putty knife for removing the raft from the printing board. We used wire cutters for cutting off excess pieces of plastic on our models. We used a filer for shaving off some excess plastic. We just used a standard flashlight so that we can see some of the things that might need to be fixed in the model easier. We used a small hammer in combination with the putty knife to get the raft off of the base plate.
So these are going to be some files that you need to download in order to do the cascading boxes. The first one is a plugin that allows you to convert Sketchup files or the SKP files into a DXF or STL, which is the STL is what you need for the M3D, the microprinter. You need to convert it to this in order to print your model. So just click either this or this. These are for newer versions, version 8.2 and up, and these are for anything lower than that. So just pick whatever one applies to your version of SketchUp. Next one is this one. So you go to, this is the M3D website. You go to support, downloads, software, and then these are all different files that you can get. These are like the instructions, and these are this is the actual software, what you want to get. You either get Windows or Mac, whatever computer you have, and then I guess these are just notes. You don't really need to worry about that. And then this is SketchUp, which is what you're going to use to download the model. So just click download SketchUp. And then it will just ask you some questions, and yeah, maybe ask like your email or something, but just fill out these questions and you should be good to go. You should get this, which is a su2stl.rbs. So you should just double click that, I guess, and install it, or just on the page that we had right here, you should find instructions. Yeah, instructions on here for whatever type of computer you have. So just go through that after you download it. So once you have all of those files downloaded, what you want to do is go into SketchUp. So once you download SketchUp, you'll have this thing right here, SketchUp 2015. So just open up that. Oops. Alright, there we go. Open up that. And what you want to do is choose template. And so by default, it will be on like something like this, or feet and inches or meters or something. What we want to do is go all the way down and find 3D printing inches. So click that and then click this start using SketchUp. And it'll pop up this SketchUp window and you'll get this. It's just a default little object they put in here. So just right click that and erase. So now we have an empty plane here, or area, where we can just make our box. So this, I'm assuming that you've never used SketchUp before. So the tools we're going to be using are this shapes menu, that you can make these shapes, and we're going to be using a rectangle. An extruder, which is to push and pull your 2D, like your flat planes, into 3D boxes or rectangles, stuff like that. We're going to be using the offset tool, and we'll explain that once we get there. And a tape measure. So what you want to do first is go to your shape right here and make sure you have rectangle selected, and then just, yeah, and now you should have that selected. So if I click and if I just left click and start dragging without holding or anything, just left click and drag, it'll start making a rectangle or a square, or yeah, those kind of shapes. So we want our square to be 1.950 inches by 1.950 inches. So if you look down in the bottom right here, you'll see our dimensions. And as we move our shape, as we move our mouse and change the way our shape looks, it'll change depending on how it looks like. So what's nice about SketchUp is you can just type in dimensions and it will automatically set your shape to that. So as you're just dragging and stuff, just stop dragging and sit there for a second. And then start typing 1.950 inches, comma, space, 1.950 inches. And just click enter, and we'll have our shape right here. So you could just click the select tool, which is just for selecting things so that you don't accidentally make a rectangle. And one thing, if you start making it and you accidentally, whoops, I accidentally made a rectangle. I don't want it to be that size. So what you can do is just go to erase and highlight the things you want to erase and then let go, and then it'll erase it. And you can always go to undo too. Or if you're making one and you don't want to be making one, you just click escape and it'll get you out of that. So those are just some fun, or some nice little tools that you can use. So let's just zoom in by scrolling the scroll on the mouse. And you can also press shift and press down the scroll button at the same time to pan. Or hold down you can also hold down the scroll button and move your mouse to rotate and orbit around your shape. So those are just some ways of maneuvering around your objects. So now we have this 1.950 by 1.950. So what we can do is go to the tape measure, just click that, and you'll see that it highlights endpoints and midpoints and other just wherever you want. So I'm going to go to an endpoint, click, then drag over here the other endpoint, and it says it is 1.9500000. So that is exactly what we want. So what we need to do now is go to an extruder tool right here. It's this one right here. And as you move over this square, it'll highlight it with a bunch of dots. So that's what you want to do. Once you have it over that, you just click and start dragging upwards. And you can go up and down and it extrudes it. So we want to extrude it by 2 inches. We want this to be 2 inches tall. So as you're just dragging it, you can just type in 2 inches, and you can see it change in the distance box in the bottom right corner. Click enter. It'll pop up to 2 inches. So I'm going to pan over so we can see this a little better. So now we have this, but we want it to be hollow so that we can put other boxes inside of it. So you do that by using the offset tool. So click that, and you'll see you can, this little red square follows the lines. So just go to any spot on this top plane, this top face, and once it has a red dot, a red square, just click, and then you can make another square inside this other square. So what we want to type in as we're doing this is 0.225 inches. Enter, and now we have another square inside our square. But it's still not hollow. So we're going to go to the extruder tool again and highlight this inner box, not the outside, but the inner. And click and start. You can see it starts to become hollow. So we want the depth of this to be 1.750 inches. So just type that in and click enter, and it'll zoom to the bottom. So now there is on the floor at the bottom is 0.25 inches. There's only 2.5 inches of floor, and the rest is just hollow. So that's what we want. So this looks like a pretty good box. So I always, to make sure that my measurements are right and that I didn't mess up anything, I just measure all of my dimensions. So that's 1.950 by 0.950. Okay, so yep, that's good. And now I'm going to measure the wall thickness, which, like we typed in, the offset was 0.2250. So that's right. And we want it to be 2 inches tall. And that's right. Oh, what's it doing? Right. Okay. So now we want to measure the depth. Should be 1.750 inches. And it is. And then one more thing we can measure is the length of this hollow part. And it's 1.5, which is exactly what it should be. So this model is done. So now what we want to do is just go up to File, Save As, and I'm going to name it First Box 1. Now the reason I want to put this 1 here is because if I just called it First Box, and then when I went into the M3D slicer software and then printed it and it was not the right size or it wasn't what I wanted it to be and I wanted to change it, I wouldn't know, like, the first model is 1. So then if it wasn't right and I needed to make another one, I would call it 2. And then if I needed to do it again, 3, and so on. So I'm just going to call it First Box 1, and it's a .skp file. And I'm going to save it in my Sketchup folder, and just find where you want to save it and click Save. Oh, yes. You won't get that, but I will, because I have another one of these. So, if we go to File, so now it's saved as an SKP, but we want it to be an STL. So, what you want to do is go down here and export to DXF or STL. And this DXF or STL is once you download that other file that we had that allowed you to change SKP to an STL, you should now, if you've downloaded that and installed it, and the instructions are on the website, we'll have a link to that in the description. Follow the instructions to install it, and it should be here now. Once you install it, you'll see this. So we're going to click that. Oh, messed something up. Before you select that, what you want to do is you can either just click and drag everything, so it selects everything, or another way you can do it is just tap 3 times on a surface and it selects everything. Then we're going to go to File, Export to DXF or STL, and now we want to select our export unit, and we are going to pick millimeters. Now you might be wondering, why don't we put it in inches if that's what we dimensioned it in? Well, the reason for that is the M3D, once you put it into the M3D slicer software, it expects to see a metric unit, and inches is not in the metric unit. So it will change your inches to something else, probably millimeters or centimeters, and then it won't be the right size. So what you want to do is, so that the M3D software will accept it, just change it to millimeters, and then it'll size it right. Then click OK. And now click the drop down menu and STL, because that's what we want to save it as. And then OK. Now I am going to name it, I don't want that untitled, I'm just going to name it First Box 1. But I want to add .stl so that it will save it as a .stl. And I'm going to save it in the same folder as I saved my Sketchup file. Just click Save. Yes. And then once you save it, you'll get this little notice. Just click OK. And now if we go into our Windows Explorer, I saved it on my desktop. And now First Box 1, and That's the Sketchup file, Sketchup model. And then this is the m3d.stl file. So now you should be ready to put your SketchUp model into the M3D software. So next, what we want to do, we have made our first box in SketchUp, and we've saved it as an STL file. And now what we want to do is get this M3D. You should have installed this. You should have this M3D thing right here. Just double click on that. Oh, and by the way, before we start this, what you want to do is, or when you download that SKP to STL thing to make your SketchUp file into an STL file. So once we have this M3D software, you will have this little, and if I click on it, it goes back to the, or if I click on this little M3D guy here, it brings me up to here so I can actually see the print plate right there, and I can adjust my model if I have a model in there. Reset the view, center the model. So over here, you'll have recent models. I've printed a lot of stuff, so I have this, but if you haven't printed anything, then it will be empty. So what you want to do once you have this open is, if you've never printed anything, if you've never used your M3D, and this is like your first project, then you should have gotten a user manual with your M3D, with your 3D printer, and just follow the instructions to set up your software. And you can like customize my model color, print color, and advanced. Then if you go to 3D Ink, you can manage like what kind of filament you have in there, and because you have to specify what you're using, like PLA or ABS, stuff like that. So just after you do that, you'll want to open your model. Just open a model and find where you saved your .stl file for your first box. I saved it right here, so we have it right there. So I'm going to click that, and it says the file right there, it's STL, so open that. And now you'll have your box in M3D software. So how this printer is going to print this is, when you convert your SketchUp file in an STL file, and you put it in this, it's called like a slicer software. And you put it in this, and it by itself can like slice your project into a bunch of small layers, so that it knows, because the 3D printer will print your piece layer by layer by layer. It won't go like this wall, then this wall. No, it does like layer by layer. So this software will tell it where to print, and it tells it where the layers are. So yeah. Anyways, what you're going to want to do is, this is pretty big. This would take forever to print. So what we did was, we went to this resizing thing, and what we want to do is, there it says 1 right here for all the XYZ coordinate, or like areas, position, size things. So what we want to do is make this half the size of this. So just change all of the XYZ to 0.50. 0.50, and as you type these in, you'll see it start to change. So there. So now we've made it smaller, and it's half the size of what we designed it to be. That's the nice thing about this. If you design your project in SketchUp and it's like way too big, and it says it's going to take like 5 hours, you can just resize it the way you want it. And I'd recommend changing, like if these were all at 1, don't change it to like 0.5, 0.75, 0.4, because then your object is going to be all weird and discombobulated. So make them all the same, unless you're trying to do some kind of abstract printing. For just a box, change them all to 0.5. So now you can just swivel around and look at it, make sure it's the way you want it to be. And I think it's the way I want it to be. So now what you want to do is, once you hook up your printer, and that'll all be, the hooking up your printer to your computer is all in the user manual. It comes with your printer. So just click print. That's your current filament. I'm using white pearl. And then your print quality is, I have it on low because it's one of the faster ones. There's ultra low, low, medium, high, expert. I'm just gonna use low. And then I printed this with hollow thick walls. And then you can just click print when you're ready. And it'll say it's ready, and then it'll tell you the estimated time and how much filament it's going to use, and it says the time limit right here. And you can just start it now if you want. So I'm not printing it right now because I've already printed it. So, but once you're ready, just click that print now or start now, or you can wait till the countdown goes. So that's about it for this. Have fun making your box, and thanks for watching. One last note, we've made one of the 5 boxes. So if you want to make all 5 boxes, and as like a fun little project, I guess, if you want to, now knowing the measurements for the first box, because you can go on Sketchup and use that tape measure to find out all the different measurements. So as knowing, if you know that, then you can find you can get the measurements for what the cap would need to be, bottom cap, and the 2 other inside pieces, and you could design those all by yourself and print them. So that's just another fun idea if you wanted to do that. So as you watch this time lapse, you'll see that before it starts building the actual box, the printer prints a raft. It prints a raft on the print bed before printing the actual part. The raft is essentially like a foundation. It's a thinner piece of material, and it just prints the actual box right on top of it. So in the description of the video, we will have a link to a Dropbox folder with all of the STL and SKP files you need to make this cascading box model thing. And it'll involve all the components, not just the one that we did today. So if you're running into trouble, or you are stuck somewhere, or you just want to make sure that your dimensions are right, you can just download our Sketchup file and just look at it and make sure that yours is the right dimensions and is the same as ours. And so we will also have in that Dropbox folder links to all of the websites that we got the downloads from, like the M3D software, the SketchUp software, and the plugin for the SKP to STL. All of those will be in the Dropbox folder.
This is our finished project. You can take the top cap off and these pieces out of the bottom, and then you can empty the contents. This is the first box, the first inner box, and the second inner box. And they fit together with ease. And there you go.